So Marvel's Phase 2 continues with Thor the Dark World. In Thor the Dark World, we're reunited with our hero Thor, who has gone quite a bit through his hero's journey. He is a fairly established hero now. What is missing for him is the woman he loves, and he has to decide what kind of hero is he going to be, which call is he going to answer. Um, we also have in this particular movie his love interest, played by Natalie Portman. She steps up to be a hero in this movie as well. She starts out, she's still a little bit of a damsel in distress, but by the end of the movie, she has reached the point where she realizes that she doesn't just have to stand there in a nice dress and look pretty while somebody else saves her, which is kind of nice to see. Otherwise she would have been a tremendous letdown from, say, Scarlett Johansson in the Avengers. She isn't. She's pretty good here. Both of the actors are as good as they were in the last Thor movie. Neither one of them is going to get nominated for an Academy Award for this film, but it's a good movie. And they're pretty good in it. Now we have the villain. The villain is Christopher Eccleston, also known as the Ninth Doctor in Doctor Who. Christopher Eccleston's character is he's the leader of the Dark Elves who come to restore the world to its former, well, restore the universe to the way it was essentially before the Big Bang, the old universe, the dark universe. And he's a one note villain, really. He's got one facial expression, he's got one emotion. He he's scary and he's villainous, but an actor as good as Christopher Eccleston is completely wasted in this part. Anyone could have come in and played this, and I mean anyone. I'm not kidding when I say one facial expression and one emotion. It They didn't need anyone as high a caliber an actor as Christopher Eccleston to do what he did in this movie. No. Mentor For a mentor, we have Odin again. But Odin is sort of a negative mentor here. He is not really all that supportive of Thor or anything Thor wants in this movie. Towards the end of the movie, we get an explanation as to why, and it has to do with the cost of leadership and what it takes to be a leader. It's a little late in the movie for that. He's not terrible in this movie. You don't get the idea that he's a bad father or anything like that, but he really isn't helping Thor, even though he's trying to advise him and guide him. You know right away Thor has to do what Odin said not to do. For obstacles, you have the Dark Elves, and you have a particular type of Dark Elf called the Cursed. These provide a suitable challenge for Thor and some fairly exciting action sequences. Um, the action sequences are pretty entertaining in this film, and they do a pretty good job, but they're a little faceless. Think, despite the fact that they're not in that kind of armor, kind of like the stormtroopers in Star Wars. They're there and they're scary, but you're not really going to pick out and remember any of them in particular. For allies, you get more screen time for Thor's merry band, who you've seen in the comic books many times, and they get more screen time, they get more action sequences, and it's appreciated. It's very well done, and everyone does a good job in the film. They get not just more action, but more dialogue. They have more downtime in the film as well, as does the merry band that is led by Natalie Portman. Uh, Kat Dennings, as I believe her name is Darcy, and I forget the actor's name, but the doctor who was a bit more of Thor's mentor in the first film, that guy, they're in it. They also have more screen time. They also have more to do in the film, both acting wise, dialogue wise, and action wise as well. Um, that was nice. And given how many more characters had a bigger part in the film, it's actually a little startling to realize how that doesn't take away from the film. They found a way to cram a lot of stuff in here, and it's not a particularly overly long film either. And that was very well done. I'm impressed by that. Now, of course, you have your trickster, and literally the god of all tricksters is Loki. And Tom Hiddleston is back, and he's brilliant as Loki. He is actually given quite a bit more range than he's had in any of his other film appearances as Loki. Um, and he does very well with it. I'm not sure I would say he steals the film quite as much as he does in, say, the Avengers or the original Thor, but he comes pretty close. He comes very close. Uh, then Kat Dennings and the Doctor, whose name I forget, they're also there for with quite a bit of comic relief. Kat Dennings, of course, is from Two Broke Girls, and she is a rather terrific comic actress. And they really utilize that this time. They know what to do with her now, and the doctor apparently is a very good. I wish I remember this guy's name. He is apparently also very good at the humor. They make him quite ridiculous in this movie. He's suffering some ill effects from his time in the Avengers movie and what happened to him, and he hasn't dealt with it very well. But the way he's dealt with it is hysterical. So that works. The upside of this movie is fast, it's fun, it's funny. You will have a good time watching this film. Some of the action sequences really had me thinking this looks and sounds a little bit like a Star Wars movie. It's some of there are fight sequences involving vehicles and things like that, and I'm sitting there like, wow, this just looks like a darker version of the Star Wars universe. Even the design of some of the vehicles is bizarre and somewhat asymmetrical, like you never saw before the Star Wars franchises hit screens. And I kind of like that. I kind of dug that. The downside, the largest downside, is how badly they wasted Christopher Eccleston. Christopher Eccleston is a great actor. If you've ever seen, just take a look at season one of Doctor Who, series one on it's you can stream it on Netflix, it's on Amazon instant video. It's good. If you're into sci-fi, if you're the type of person who's going to sit down and watch Thor, you will have a good time watching it. But watch it to see how good an actor Eccleston really is, and you will have no doubt he is utterly, utterly wasted here. It's actually a damn shame. It is a real damn shame that they did not give that villain more range, more to feel, because they had the actor to do it. If anyone could be, you know, an enraged, passionate villain, this guy could have nailed it. He could have hit it out of the ballpark, and they didn't. They wasted him. In the end, I've got to give this movie 4 stars. It feels to me like 4 stars is almost too high, but this is no way is it a 3-star movie or even a 3.5-star movie. It's a 4-star movie. I think I'm just personally so disappointed in what they didn't do with Eccleston that I'm a little bitter about that right now. So Thor: The Dark World, 4 stars.